Are you a New York City guy or are you a Milwaukee guy? This is New York, man. 24/7, city never sleeps, go, 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 go. I don't think people are intense enough about their relationships. They're not intense enough about their money. I'm intense, I'm obsessed. I have to fight for every single client and make sure I do a great job so they refer me. That's the X factor.
Hi, this is Rafe Kamar with Kamar Group at Compass. Welcome to our new vlog series called Breakfast of Champions. Each month, myself, Rafe, a team member, and one of the industry top leaders will be joining us for breakfast to discuss industry trends, tips, tricks, and a little bit about themselves. Hope you enjoy our show. Our second guest is a very successful entrepreneur, a coach, and a speaker. He heads the recruiting, hiring, and advising efforts for his team at Guaranteed Rate, $150 million worth of personal production, and the group that he overlooks did shy of $1 billion of loan funding. My good friend, Amir Syed.
Hey, Rafe.
How are you?
Good, man. Great
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Amir, we've heard you're one of the most disciplined lenders in the industry, a true master of your craft. How do you start your day? Walk us through that.
When I hear you say disciplined, it always kind of cracks me up because people that know my story, I barely graduated high school. I was a big troublemaker growing up. I had really bad grades. Discipline and me did not, work well together.
Yeah.
And so I started to seek out really successful people, and I realized that they all had their ways of being disciplined. And I said, I want that, whatever it might be. Financial issues or health issues or money issues, we get to that boiling point and we just want to break out of it. Once, I read one personal development book, it was like crack, right? It was like chocolate to a fat kid, you couldn't get enough. And so I read one, then I read another one, then I read another one. I'm like, oh my gosh, my mind is blown. Wow. This is like the instruction manual of how to get better. And so one of the things was the morning ritual. So I read either in Tim Ferriss or
Hal Elrod, I believe.
Yeah, Hal Elrod. Yeah, exactly. Just last week, I went downstairs, I typed out my new morning ritual, I took some scissors, cut it, and I put it in the cupboard. So I don't forget, right? So I open it up and I just look at it every day. So I worked around with it. So the morning is very important. But the first thing I do is I drink this morning cocktail, right? It's cold water, it's apple cider vinegar, it's a dash of cayenne pepper, and it's half a lemon. And I squeeze it, stir it, and I pound it every morning. And I blow my nose, it clears my sinuses, it refreshes me.
Yeah.
So I set all this up before I go to bed at night. Because in the morning, if I have to think, I gotta make the coffee, I gotta get my workout clothes, I'm already losing. But before I go to bed, I have a rhythm as well.
Set up.
I have the cupboard, nightly ritual. Then I have my 5-minute gratitude journal. It's in the cupboard. I open it up. I have my mechanical pencil. I'm a mechanical pencil junkie, right?
Likewise, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I take it out. I do my journal.
Yeah.
I put it back up. Then I will sit on the couch with the fireplace in the winter for literally 5 minutes and I zone out. Zone out. I know how to meditate. I took a 3-day orientation, transcendental meditation here on Erie. So that's a great tool I have.
Yeah.
I have my mantra and all that. And then what I do is I literally watch YouTube videos of golf. How to get a better swing, how to chip and putt. It makes me it brings me happiness. It's a hobby that I love.
Yeah.
I'll watch that, and then once the caffeine hits, I will go downstairs and I read every morning.
Okay.
And then I get ready to go. I have my personal trainer on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. I have a golf lesson Friday morning. So Wednesday's sort of like my off day.
Okay.
But that's my ritual, man. I am a very driven person like you and many people watching this. But what I realize is that there are 3 types of people, and I learned this, is that there's drifters, there are people that are driven, and then there's a very few that are directed. So drifters, they just go around their day, they have no kind of direction, and they don't like their jobs, they don't like their relationships, they're all over the place, right? Driven people get up and want to do everything, but they're all over the place still, and they exert a lot of energy. I'm very directed. I have people in my life that tell me what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and I channel my drive and I focus in on that. So with a trainer, I can go to the gym and work out myself, but I don't trust myself because there's going to be mornings I'm like, I don't want to do it, right? It's too cold outside. So I pay a trainer. I'm like, it's $100. Like I spend that on dinner like it's my health. Like I can cut some expenses somewhere here and there, right? It's quick. So I'm very big on efficiency and effectiveness. Now, when I leave the personal training studio, this is something that I do. I'm a very big believer in it. And I'm not saying this to brag, okay? There is a car wash by the gym, and there's so much litter outside this car wash. It drives me crazy. Every morning when I leave the gym, I pick up 5 to 10 pieces of garbage. Wow. I know my hands are already dirty. I pick it up and I put them in the garbage and I go inside. Because I do believe that at the end of the day, I feel so much better when I did that. And again, I'm not saying this to brag. Because if people know me, when I give with my left hand, my right hand doesn't even know. The blessings come when you do things and no one knows. But I hope to say this to inspire people that leave things better than you found them.
Incredible.
So if I'm walking home anyway, I can pick up some garbage and put it in the trash can. This is my community. I can help the country in what I do. People have this delusion that, yes, the presidency is important, but you can do little things every day. I will sit down with my wife for about 10 minutes and we'll connect because she's up watching TV. How's your day? What's going on with you? How are you feeling? We always connect eye to eye. 3 times a week, I'll find an article that I know someone will really like. I'll send the article to someone in Facebook Messenger or text message, and then I get my day going.
Now, one thing you said earlier is you weren't always like this, right?
No.
I mean, you were a troublemaker and you had some challenges. What was that pivotal moment that made you transition?
I was about in my early 30s, and I was going through, I owned a mortgage company and I wasn't producing. And we learn about one another. We learn about ourselves, hopefully, as you become older. And I had read that the male brain, the prefrontal cortex, is the most mature right around early 30s, late 20s. And that's when things started changing for me. It was crazy when I read that because I was like, okay, I goofed around in my 20s. I owned a company. I had an ego. I wanted everyone to know that I had a mortgage company, but I didn't like owning. I like to sell. I like to be on the ground floor. So I said, wow, I found out who I really am. This is what I love to do. So I got to put myself in that situation. I said, holy cow, how can I get there as fast as possible? So I went to this kind of conference out in Vegas with all real estate people, and I'm seeing these people on stage. And I said, oh my gosh, these guys are amazing. If he can do it, I can do it. So there was a coaching program that I really loved. And so I bought the CDs, and my wife and I went to the Dominican Republic a few months later. And this is a true story. I was literally on the beach 8 hours a day with a little Walkman.
That's crazy.
With a CD player. This is like, damn, things have really progressed, you know? And my wife was like, what are you doing? I'm like, you gotta listen to this. These guys are amazing. These guys, everything they're saying. So I got hooked.
That's awesome.
And that coaching program is the core training. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that. It's hardcore. And I was around these really successful people, and they shared all these little things, and then, I did my own things on the side. I read personal development books, and it changed my life, man.
That is so incredible.
So having successful people around me that walk the talk, that's the key there. There's a lot of frauds out there, man. A lot of people that will say they do these things, but they don't. And so these people, I'm like, man, these are no nonsense, no fluff. They are walking the talk, active practitioners, and they're holding me accountable. So it's coaching from credible people, and the accountability piece. That's where real change comes from.
Amir, you're probably one of the most successful people I know. And I'm not just saying that. You know this on and off camera. I've always said that to you. What does success mean to you? Define success.
But I think for me, defining success is, what's my mind state? Am I happy? Am I joyful in my mind? Because at the end of the day, tomorrow, God forbid, I lose everything, right? But as long as I have my fear in God and I have my health, right? And I have my right mindset, I'm a billionaire. I'm a trillionaire. Because I know people that are really rich, but they don't have abundance. So I think success is abundance. Non-financially, it's our relationships, it's our health, it's our mental state. That's success to me.
With you being so successful, with you being so busy at work, with such high in demand, and every broker and realtor wanting to work with you, and clients want to work with you, how do you draw a line from personal to business and having that work-life balance? How do you manage that? It's
a big question, and it's a struggle, right? So I think as we become wiser in our business and we seek outside counsel, there are people that are succeeding at work that are also very much succeeding in other parts of their life, right? So there's the 7 boxes of life. There's spiritual, there's ourself, there is love, our love life, right? There's our family, friends, and work and money. Those are the 7 boxes of life, right? So there's no balance, there's gotta be harmony. I work 8 to 10 hours a day, I'm not gonna have 8 to 10 hours with my friends, so there's some harmony there. To really dig deep in what you're saying there, I think the older we become, we have to work smarter. You have to always work hard, but smarter, right? And I think in our business, in sales, right, it's about staff, it's about leveraging time, right? So when I first started, I would cold call people, take their application, call them back, sell it, get in my car, go to their house, sign the document, come back, process the loan. But you get better, right? It's Adam Smith, the father of economics, wealth of all nations is the assembly line, So it's learning how to delegate, it's learning how to hire properly, train properly, create systems, right? And create more time. So all we do all day is constantly at the point of sale, the most important piece. Everything's coming to where, boom, we're face talking to the client at that point of sale. The rest of the team does everything else, boom, right?
Love it.
It's like I heard this thing a long time ago. Frank Sinatra doesn't move pianos. Frank Sinatra shows up and sings. He's got the microphone guy, the piano guy. The key is to get to that point where you can work 35 hours a week, make as much income as you can, and just do a great job for your partners and your clients. And that takes being very clear on who your target is as far as clients, knowing how to say no, and hiring great staff to leverage time.
So it's not all about just being a hard worker, because if that was the case, construction workers would be the most sort of richest people on earth. It's about strategy, it's about efficiency, it's about having the right team around you, surrounding you. And with you running an organization, $1 billion organization essentially, talk to us about your team structure. What does that look like? How do you manage and coach people at the same time as well? What's crucial to you?
I have a very tough position, and what I mean by that is I have to be selfish and selfless at the same time, right? So it's tough to do that. I have to be almost like a point guard in basketball, where I'm dropping 20 points, but I'm also dropping 10 assists. It's a tough role to be in, but this is the role that I'm gifted to do, and I've worked at it, so I'm meant to do this, right? So I'm first of all clear on what it is. So doing personal production, having a staff of 11 now, support staff, and then having these other loan officers that are all high producers. It's a whole jumble, right, of decision making. So first of all, I have to make sure I walk the talk, right? I have to make sure that I'm leading by example. What keeps me sharp is that I do my own production. That's a very important thing in my opinion.
Right.
Some people cannot do production and lead a team. Fine, I can't comment on that. For me, what works is I'm sharp, right? I set the tone, I do volume, my guys follow me, right?
Lead from front.
And I know little things. Like if they bring up one client scenario, I didn't read in the textbook, I'm in the trenches. Intuitively, I can tell you do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, right? Powerful. So that's powerful to me. And I stay relevant. And the support staff allows me to not get into the weeds, allows me to stay sharp. That took a long time to get there. Lots of mistakes with hiring. You learn, right? But you have to learn. Now, when it comes to the group of guys, it's managing egos.
Sure.
So when a guy does 20 million in volume, I can't treat him the same as when he's 100 million. So I'm very aware of that. I was not aware of that when I was younger. It was my way or the highway, right? It was like, do this. It's meeting people at their different levels as well. I've made mistakes around that. And I've learned that actually the last year of like, this guy is here where he's at. I can't talk to him like he's a college player, right?
Right.
So being aware is very important, number one. Then I think ultimately the cadence of coaching is super important. We were talking about that earlier, right? So there is mentoring and there's coaching. Those are two very big different things. So mentoring, what that means is like, let's just have a conversation, right? And guide me. Coaching is do this, do this, do this by this time and report back to me by this time. It's hardcore accountability. So there's lots of accountability with my group of people. It's a cadence, same time, same place, because that in itself is a discipline. We get in and there's certain accountability that's involved. That's standard, and then I give some custom tailored ones to where that person is in that moment.
Are you pretty hardcore when it comes to people and their goals, or do you have the softer side to yourself?
I'm 90% Mickey Mouse, 10% grizzly bear, right? So, I'm a very intense person. That is one thing I will define myself, but that's a positive thing in my opinion. Because I don't think people are intense enough about their relationships, they're not intense enough about their health, they're not intense enough about their money, their work. I'm all in. If I'm doing it, I'm intense, I'm obsessed. I don't know any other way, right? Because if I'm doing it, I'm gonna do it, man. Let's get in. Either I'm in, I'm not out. I'm out, you know? So with my guys, I'm very intense. But that's also who I hire. So I'm very clear. If you're not an intense person about your goals, I don't know you. We can dab up, shake up, like we're good, but this is not the environment that I've created.
Right.
Do you understand? I always joke around with like my staff. I say, are you a New York City guy or are you a Milwaukee guy? Both are great towns, but what are you? And they look at me and I said, this is New York, man. Honking, ambulance, get out the way, 24/7, city never sleeps, go, 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 go. Right?
Beautiful.
My wife's from Arkansas. It's laid back. Oh, we'll take care of that later. If that's you, this is not me. So I'm very clear what my expectations are. So people that write down their goals for me, I keep them simple. What are your 2 goals? What are your 5 action items? Right? Simple, less is more. We laminate it, we frame it, we put it on the board, whatever it is, and we work towards that. And we calibrate, but we are intense and obsessed about writing those things down. And we meet every week to make sure we're building blocks around that.
Those 2 attributes or aspects, are those weekly check-ins? Are those monthly, quarterly?
When it comes to sales guys, right, I'm a very big believer that I don't micromanage them. If the results are there, right, I don't care what you wear, what you believe in. If the results are not there, then we meet more regularly, right, to get you back up to where you need to be. So this is where you have to be nimble as a leader. So there's this old saying, double time, part time for full time, free time. It's a mouthful. So I got big producers in my group. I meet with them every other week, right? But at the beginning, it was like twice a week, 3 times a week, double time, part time. Now I'm free time, double time. I have staff that just start. We're meeting every single morning, 15-minute huddle. And if we're face to face, we're doing it standing up so we can get in and get out. We're not sitting down because it's going to speed up the meeting. So I think the answer to that question is you have to know what that person needs in that moment. Like if I go a couple weeks and I'm not good with my wife because we haven't really gone out and dated and all that, I'm doubling up for a certain period of time.
Sure.
To get it back to where it is.
Neutralize it a little bit.
So I think we have to have some flexibility and be very in tune of what's the cadence I need right now with this person. If they're newer and they're struggling, we're meeting 3 times a week to get you going. And then I soften up. And then once I get them up, we'll go to twice a week and I harden up. You gotta move with the game, the pulse of the game.
Beautiful. You've mentioned the daily huddle a few times. What is that comprised of? What does that look like?
Yes, so there's a support staff and then there's a sales group. So remember, my role is a little bit different, right? I have to be selfish in my production, selfless how I lead the guys. Yin and the yang, right? I'm a Gemini too, so it helps. I'm, 2 personalities, right? But with the daily huddle, especially when there's a new team, this is my message to all new leaders. You're really not a business until you have staff. Think about that. You're not a business until when you leave for a month and the business still runs itself. Like I can leave for 3 months and my business will hum, right? It will hum. I need to come back after 3 months for many reasons, but that's when you know you're a leader. So a daily huddle is when you have new staff, you have to meet with them every day to make sure that they know what's going on. Now the question is, well, what do we go over?
Right.
You'll figure that out, right? You'll figure that out. That's going to be a separate video that I can really break down for everybody. But we talked about it a little bit earlier off camera. I have an agenda to every meeting. The 3 to 4 mistakes people make with their huddles is that they're not prepared, there's no agenda, they allow the meeting to get mixed, meeting stew, they don't keep the meeting focused, right? And there's no accountability to it. You do all this talking for what? Action, right?
Yeah.
So what happens with my group is we get in, we do a little personal. Literally it says personal. I kind of like connect with people. How are you doing? Because we're human beings.
Yeah.
I got to see, how are you feeling today, right? Then it's wins and learns. Where'd you have one win? Talk to me. I want to celebrate, man. Where'd you have a big win? And by the way, I have this win for you. I captured it. I heard you said this. I saw this email. You did a great job here. Where is your learn? Not your loss, but maybe you might have lost me. What'd you learn from it? So personal wins, learns. And I do some housekeeping.
Okay.
Little housekeeping items like, hey, did you know this guideline came out? Are you guys aware of this?
Sure.
Then we get into training, right? Here's what the focus is this week, right? Like you're about to meet these 2 clients. What's your mindset? What are you going to ask? What are your discovery questions? What's going to be your takeaway? What's going to be your closing? We break down a scenario in that week.
Wow.
Then we go over accountability. What did I assign you last week? Let's talk about it. And then we break.
That is just intense, but it's so structured and organized. And I think that's why you're so successful, is because you always have an agenda, you always have a mission for every single meeting. It's not a time waster. There's always an objective to it.
Purposeful.
Yeah.
You have to be purposeful, right? It's like even when I came in here, my mind was driving. I'm like, okay, what do I want my mindset to be? What are some of the questions that Rafe might ask me? How am I going to go through my day? Everything you go into, you have to be purposeful. And some people might find that word a little bit dirty, but no. Well, why are we going to waste time? If I'm leading these people, they have goals in their lives. Leadership is a responsibility. Be prepared. Be prepared and purposeful.
Something I've learned from you is a beautiful hiring structure that you've put in place. You're very specific about who you hire, and that's why you're so successful, and you've built the organization to where it is today. Talk to us about your hiring versus firing process.
Every business is built on 3 levels: sales, ops, finance. Think about that. Let that really sink in, okay? Starbucks, sales, they have to have enough people coming in. Ops, how do they execute the order? Finance, are they profitable? The restaurant, the therapist, the daycare, everything is sales, ops, finance, right? Our world, people are really good at sales, but what they get stuck right around that certain X amount of volume, ops.
Yeah.
And they don't invest enough time to get better at ops. But ops drives sales.
Yeah.
Think about that. Sales doesn't drive ops. Sales is all personality for the most part. Ops is all process. Process is greater than personality. Finance piece, those are little tweaks. You just have to keep your expenses smart. You have to make sure you're profitable, right? That will always work itself out when there's money coming in. You could tweak that, you understand? Ops is where a lot of businesses struggle, especially in real estate, because delegation is very difficult. So staffing, I would encourage anybody in sales to put as much time once they get to a certain amount of volume in learning how to be a better recruiter, better hirer, better trainer, and better developer. 4 different tiers of ops, right? My mind's very compartmentalized and subset,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, yes it is.
So
Definitely.
ops know how to recruit. So you have to have systems in place every week when you need staff. So I have a networking group called Breakfast of Champions. We talked about that. Some of the top people in every profession, I created this 3 years ago. We meet the first Tuesday of every month, was yesterday. Top estate planner, top divorce attorney. I grill them.
Yeah.
So every Friday, what happens at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time? They got to pay the landlord. They have to text me the accountability of their goals. So I have this young kid who's a young State Farm owner. I love this kid. Always complaining about his staffing. I said, dude, you're talking about the same thing over and over. Enough is enough. Remember what I said at the beginning of the video? You got to get to your boiling point.
Yeah.
So I said, you are going to text me every Friday. I want 3 interviews from you. You're going to put an ad in Indeed. You're going to shoot a video, right, about what the position is. Let me see it. That's way too boring, I told him at the beginning. I need a different video. You're going to hire a recruiting company. You're going to put all these things out there, right?
Yeah.
I want 3 interviews a week. Here is your questions of how you're going to interview. Yeah. You have to text me. He just found an unbelievable staff member. I said, it's the same thing. You want clients, you got to get some activity going.
Yeah.
So first of all, if you're looking to recruit, you got to have these different worlds that are bringing you resumes.
Sure.
And then you have to have a set time block every week and when you're interviewing, right? So it can't be all over the place. Pick 3 times at the beginning. The process of interviewing also is important.
Sure.
So I figured out a long time ago, what is it I want? I want hard work. So I ask questions like, what's the hardest you ever worked in your life?
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
What was the second hardest time you ever worked in your life? What does hard work mean to you? Define that to me, right? We're all about grit and persistency, right? And tenaciousness. Tell me about a time where you had to literally overcome something at work. When was the last time you wowed a client?
Wow, that's a good question.
These are questions that people don't ask.
Yeah.
Right? But I learned that in Brad Smart, Top Grading. It's a great book. When I hire salespeople, Dr. Chris Croner, never hire a bad salesperson. I implore people to read these things and educate yourself and create a checklist of questions over time, right? Seek out someone that's got a lot of staff members. Google, YouTube, like what are the great interview questions to ask a support person? And you start asking, and I will tell you, you will learn a lot about people. Now, what happens after that interview, if I really like them, they have a second interview with 2 or 3 other people on my staff. Because I look at people a certain way, other people have different things, right? Sure. Then, we talked about, I always have this little kind of test. I will give them an assignment and say, you have to answer these 3 questions for me, and I want it back by tomorrow at this time, right? First of all, I'm seeing if they're taking notes. Sure. I do a lot of Zoom interviews, right? If they get that back to me on time, great. I see their grammar. Did they spell check? Did they answer the questions? Did they articulate it, right? Tells me a lot about them. And then if I hire them, we have 30, 60, 90 days. It's a 90-day trial, right?
I love it.
So that's a lot of the development and training. So there's a little bit more, but at the end of the day, that's the key, man.
Is DISC profile integrated with your interview process, or what sort of personality test do you seek out, I guess?
A lot of leaders want to hire other people that are driven. I don't want other people like me. Do you understand? Like there's one Michael Jordan, one Dennis Rodman, one Scottie Pippen. That's what makes a great team. You ever notice these super teams? It's all high D, high drive, but they don't mesh together. Yeah. You need good chemistry. So when I hire a support person, I don't need them driven. I need them more of an S&C, more stable, more compliant, more detailed, right? My transaction manager, for example. So I would implore people to do the DISC test, understand what it means, ask the right questions around each personality thing. All salespeople should complete the drive test by Dr. Chris Kohner, Never Hire a Bad Salesperson Again. It tests the 3 major ingredients of drive, right? Which I'm not going to break down, pretty straightforward, but ultimately you'll learn a lot about a salesperson. You know, their need for achievement, their optimism, right? Yeah. It tests all that through strategic question asking. Very cool. So that's one part of it, Rafe. But when I hire, I look at it as like underwriting a loan file. You might have really bad credit, but you got great assets, great income, you get a loan, right? So just because they don't do well here, then we'll figure out what else makes sense.
That's fantastic. One thing you said earlier is they might be on the right bus, but they might be in the wrong seat.
That's right. So what is the right bus? You have to define that. My bus, you got to work hard, okay? And by working hard, I don't mean working 90 hours a week. It's you know when someone works hard, they go above and beyond, man. Attitude and effort are very important. The aptitude I can teach you if you're in the right seat. So right bus is hard work and attitude. Aptitude is, are we in the right seat? Maybe you're better in this position.
I love it. Now let's talk about the more difficult discussion here, letting people go. At what point are you like, listen, I've given this person enough chances, or maybe they just don't possess the aptitude or the discipline or the hard work ethic that we're looking for. At what point do you let someone go, and how do you do that?
I will tell you that that's a weakness in my leadership, is that I'm very impatient, and it bothers me a lot when people don't perform, because I expect so much more from them and I care about them, and that I could be very stern. So I'm buffering that. I have an operations manager to buffer me and shield me from that. So she can do that because she's a lot softer than I am, right? But that being said, though, technically, I think it's verbal, right? Being very clear on what is expected, having them repeat it back. Have people repeat back what you have explained to them. You'll be shocked when they repeat it back differently, right? So gain that agreement of what you need. Explain to them why. So guys, this is the biggest thing, is when people train other people, explain why we do it, what we do, and how we do it. Because people have to understand your role in this great machine helps the entire organization because of what you're doing. So they're like, oh wow, I understand now. I'm that gear on the watch. Yes, this is how we do it, and this is what we do, right? So that's important. Now, if they don't do well, I would write them up. I would put it on paper, make sure it's there, and say, hey, sign this, I'm signing it, we're very clear.
Are we talking 30 days, 60 days, or a quarter? At what point, again, how many warnings, written, verbal, before you're like, listen, this person's not the right fit, and I'm not gonna invest? Because here's the thing, initially you are spending so much time, you're having these daily huddles, it takes a lot of personal investment, and then you have to be very cautious about that, because you're like, listen, that's all time wasted now. So at what point you're like, no, I've tried it, I've given my personal best to this is just not the right fit?
I use this thing called Trainual. It's training and manual put together, right? It's a cloud-based training system. It's amazing. I went through job descriptions and I updated it. I'm obsessed, man. Like, I want to do my business. I love it. I took the time and said, this is operations. I need to do this. So I went in, hunkered down. We're in a pandemic. It's the winter. I worked on it. Yeah. I made sure the few people on my staff are very clear. Do you know what your 3 top duties are? So number 1, clearly define job goals, and number 2 is the accountability metrics. Every week, this is what you're held accountable to. So you know your job goals, you know your accountability metrics, and you know the greater good of why you're doing what you're doing. People need to replay what I just said at least 5 times and put that on paper. Wow. Right? Yeah. From there, you manage towards that. Now, when you write someone up, you don't need to wait long. because the A players, there's A, B, C players, they will respond right away. The B players that hide as an A player will show some flashes of good work and then they'll revert back. Then you know this is not the right person for you.
Got it.
So that brings everything to a head is when you write them up.
Yeah.
Because either they'll quit, they'll really respond, or they'll temporarily respond. And when you have a Zoom meeting as a leader, be very sharp. Pick up on people's body language. I know when someone's not clicking with me because everybody else on my team goes like this, and that one person doesn't do
like
anything. Arms crossed, and I'm like, I need to call them one-on-one.
Okay,
What's up? And I get right to it. Lots of uncomfortable conversations.
Go ahead,
On
Jamie.
that note, what do you see as like the top 2 threats to a team dynamic, and how do you avoid those? Because I know you've done $1 billion in volume. You obviously have a really good team dynamic. So what do you think about?
Well, I'll tell you that well, I'm very clear on my expectations that hiring is not easy. It's 50-50. So my expectations are set now that if I hire someone, time will tell how well they do, right? We're all very complicated people, man. You know what I mean? Like, we all think differently. There's lots of personalities. There's a lot going on. So I think, specifically is, you have to flow with it in that moment, right? And you just have to know if someone's effort and care and commitment is there. Because if those things are not there, then something else is going on that's a bigger issue. But if those things are there, we have to manage through it and figure out what's going on. It's just checking in with people, man, checking their pulse, right? It's like, yo, how are you? Do you like this role? Like, are you clear what you need to do? Like, are we good? Like, everything good at home? Like, do you understand what your expectations are? Do you understand what your job goal is? Do you understand what your good of the entire organization is? We make it way too complicated, man. Simple, less is more. Just check the pulse.
I love the ambition. I love the clarity that you have. Let's talk about your personal and your business goals, a 2-year and a 10-year plan. What does a personal and a business goal look like within the next 24 months? And then a long-term 40,000 foot overview of 10-year. Where do you see yourself?
I used to have these 20-page plans, right? But as I'm becoming older, I'm less is more. I'm simplifying everything. So really in the next couple of years, where I'll feel successful and abundant is I just hope I have my health, my parents are still alive and they're healthy, like all those standard things I think about a lot, right? But I want to be happily married. I'm praying to God that we have a couple kids. That's been quite a journey for us. Just living in a nice home, I love to travel, taking lots of vacations, only working 35 hours a week, having a very dynamic staff, making sure my sales guys are still connected to me. I love them very much, and I want to make sure they're successful, so that's important. From a specific standpoint, right? I hope to take at least 3 vacations a year, take my mom and dad on vacation every year. We have this big home in Little Rock, Arkansas, 10 acre. I want to build a horse stable there.
I love it.
Get away from there. I want to buy a second home in Florida, down in Coconut Grove. That's a goal that I have, to get away in the winters. Additionally, I want to make sure from a work standpoint, I have to hit 250 million in volume in the next 24 months. And from a brand standpoint, we want to get sure in the next 2 years, over $1 billion. 10 years from now, that's a long time, but I'll be 50 years old. I'm about to turn 40 in a couple months. But in 10 years, I want to be an amazing husband and amazing dad. I already picture myself with my girls, my son, whatever it might be, down in Florida, somewhere warm, driving a really nice car, and literally getting off at work at 3 and being with my kids.
Wow.
Being with my wife, traveling, and getting in and really, really, really having a robust team of maybe 40, 50 staff members, doing over $1 billion in volume myself.
Personally.
But I don't know if the mortgage business will be it. I think I have a bigger calling. I think we'll see where life takes us, but that's the vision, man.
A lot of people can think into next week, and the fact that you've got this very clear picture, it's phenomenal. All right, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about your business and what you do to help people out, which is lending and everything. What is one biggest mistake people make when they're finding a mortgage broker? And then generally, what's the one misconception out there? Anything that you would want to sort of share with the potential people that are shopping for mortgage brokers?
When you think about picking a mortgage lender, if you think about a pie chart, you have to think in thirds: the rate, the fee, and the execution. Rates and fees are very standardized now, right? It's very transparent. Pretty much everyone has the same rates for the most part, right? They'll be off by an eighth. Fees are very standardized as well. The mistake a lot of people make is that they go and they commoditize the lender, right? Well, if our business was very commoditized, at the time we're shooting this video, who knows what the future will be? It's like getting a cab. You push a button, you get a mortgage. I get Quicken Loans, Guaranteed Rates, Loan Depot. The names are very it's quick. That means it's seamless, but there's still a lot involved in having a good lender execute. You know, I don't think a day goes by. I average almost 10 calls a day, Rafay. Very structured, right? You guys can check me out on Instagram. I put my schedule up every so often.
Yeah.
It's tight packed, right? After they talk to me and they talk to somebody else, I'm not even gonna say 9 out of 10 times. It's 10 out of 10 times. At the end, I have a strategic sales question, right? So I'm giving you a little of my secret sauce. I always ask them, how was this call? And I pause. And every single time they're like, holy cow, wow, or this was way different than the other guy. You really educated me. And I have a structure. I'm very structure oriented. I have a checklist that I go through that's strategic. So I think at the end of the day, when you pick a lender, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, it's not just rate. Don't commoditize the lender. It's your money. Look online. Has this person done a lot of volume? What's their credibility, right? And go to someone that's referral based. Because I don't sit in a bank and I get fed.
Yeah.
I have to fight for every single client and make sure I do a great job so they refer me. That's the X factor.
What separates a top producer from any other average agent? They're a dime a dozen, 87% failure rate within first 5 years in the industry, according to NAR.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, 15% people make it. What do you think is one thing that separates a top producer from an average real estate agent that's gonna not make it in the business?
I think people become realtors and mortgage lenders or salespeople, whatever. Let's just keep it to our business, realtors, because they want the freedom and I can control my own schedule and I want the autonomy. That's where you're gonna fail. It's the worst thing you can think, right? It's about being in a directed environment, right? So like when you join the business, you're drifting, you're drifting, now you're driven. You wanna get into real estate and do it, but you fail. One fails because there's no direction. Remember, drifting, driven, directed? So joining a team when you first start in the business and learning the business and being held accountable will allow that person to make it through.
That was some insane knowledge. That is just...
I YouTubed all that, man. I YouTubed all that.
And now this is our popular rapid fire round. We're gonna ask you 10 questions. Go with your gut, think about it 5 seconds or whatever, and then just say whatever comes to mind. Okay, your celebrity crush.
Eva Longoria. No. Eva Mendes, excuse me. Eva Mendes.
Too many Evas out there that were, yeah.
But my wife is my number one crush.
There you go. Safe answer. One item on your bucket list.
Climb Mount Kilimanjaro with close friends.
Very cool. What's the best thing that's happened to you this month?
It was my wife's birthday, my mother-in-law's birthday. So just celebrating their birthday.
When are you most inspired?
When the fruits of my labor manifest. When I've worked so hard on building something in that moment and I get through the pain and almost the point of I want to quit and when I'm starting a project and then it comes to fruition, it's goosebumps.
Wow.
It just makes it so sweet to know that I stayed consistent and steadfast through that issue that I was trying to solve or this new goal I was attaining, and then when I realize it in that moment, it's the best feeling. That's what inspires me.
Wow. What's the best compliment you've ever received?
That's a big question.
Probably a long list of compliments too.
Well, I think I had just a group of my staff tell me I've changed their life.
Wow.
Literally, I put them in a completely different trajectory, and if they didn't meet me, they would never be where they are. That blew. I cried right there and then in front of them. I got hit like with a sledgehammer. I couldn't believe it.
That's very powerful. Your favorite book?
My favorite book.
That's a tough question too, because you're a huge advocate of reading.
I think the book that I read every year that I go back to are a handful of books. I love The Compound Effect.
Darren Hardy. Great book.
Yeah. That's always a good one. I love The E-Myth. Oh man, my handwriting is all over that. It's a great book for business owners.
What is something you absolutely cannot do?
Play musical instruments. You don't want to, I'm terrible.
How do you manage stress every day?
Workout, journal. I brain dump, especially in a big journal when I have a lot of stress on my mind. Working out is a big part of what I do.
Your kryptonite?
My kryptonite, oh my God, chocolate, sweets. I have 10 cavities. I have about 20,000 in my mouth, man. All the crowns and everything, you know. So
worth it. Important life lessons someone needs to learn that is watching this.
The most important life lesson is resourcefulness. Go above and beyond. Find the problem. Work extra. Make something out of nothing. You know, like you got to go get it. You got to go get it. You got to stand out. Put more that's asked of you. All those things. If you're young watching this, go work for a small business. call them and say, I'll work for free.
Wow.
Where I am, dude, is my dad had a small business. I worked every Saturday, every summer. The amount that I learned, seeing him interact with people, he would give me money and I would count it. So at a very young age, I was not afraid of money. I learned how he spoke to people, how he handled problems. So school is one way, but working for a small business, if you have kids, if you're young, please, I implore you, call a small business and say, I will work for free. Don't worry about getting paid. Work for free. Say, I will work for free. And go there every day, 3 days a week, and learn and work and do things. And when you become an older person, you'll never forget that.
Beautiful, and that is touching. That's just very impactful. If you were not a mortgage broker, what would you be?
100%. I would be a sports agent. I would be I'd work in a casino as a pit boss or something. Like, it'd be one of those two things.
Awesome. How can our viewers find you, your Instagram?
This is my home address, all right, so just Google Amir Syed, you'll find it. But guys, my number's all out there. Hit me up if you need anything, you know?
Amir, thank you so much for doing this for us. We really
I love you, man. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Wow, that was some incredible wisdom and knowledge. I hope you all enjoyed the show. What an honor to have someone like Amir Syed, a good friend, a mentor, a coach, and just an all-around successful entrepreneur. This is your host, Rafik Amar with Kamar Group, signing out. I'll see you all next month.